The Order of Light presents We Are the Disclosure, Episode 10. With our guest, Jeff Crawford, as we explore the extraterrestrial phenomenon. Now is the time for those with experiences to speak. We are not waiting for the disclosure. We are the disclosure.
Hello, everyone. I'm Robert Earl White.
And hi, I'm Josh Miota.
I'm Jeff Crawford.
Yes, right there.
And together,
we are the disclosure. Welcome, everyone. Tonight, we have a very special guest, a very old friend of mine. We've been working together for almost 2 years. We go way back. Jeff was one of the first people to interview Elena Danan way back 2 years ago. Me too, when I first released my UFO crash story. We became very good friends. He has a great podcast, Giant Rock Podcast, covering all ends of all different kinds of phenomena, philosophy, spirituality, technologies, all of the above. Absolutely great stuff. And it's an honor to have him here. And tonight, he's going to open up and share an experience that he shared with me 2 years ago, but he hasn't really shared it in the public's eye. But it's a phenomenal story and a little bit terrifying and unsettling at the same time, especially for how young he was. But welcome to the show, Jeff. And if you would like, tell everyone a little bit about where you come from and what you've done. And welcome to the show, bub.
Thank you, Robert. Thank you. Where I born and raised in Southern California, basically. But I was born in Long Beach, lived there for a few years. And then my family moved out to Yucca Valley, Joshua Tree, Yucca Valley is part of Joshua Tree, and lived there for a few years until we moved to Minnesota, Moorhead, Fargo, Minnesota to be exact. You know, I lived in Fargo, and then from there we lived, my dad was in the food and beverage business. I was like 8-9 years old before we moved there to Phoenix, Arizona, Scottsdale, Arizona, which is a suburb of Phoenix. And grew up there basically, and high school, college, got into doing film school, I wanted to be a radio DJ jockey, and I didn't really cut out. I wanted to be something like MTV. I wanted to do MTV on my own thing. There was a lot of cool things going on in Phoenix with the music scene and everything, and I was involved with that. This is like, let's see. 1978, 79, to give you my age. I was 18, 19, out of high school. All right, I wanted to do something. I wanted, and then I joined the Army before that, and I did 2 years with that. And I came back and went to college, did graphic arts for a while. Then I wanted to get back into the music thing, and then everything. The scene was getting really good in Phoenix with the bands and everything, and my mom had a camera with her business, a video camera, and she let me use it. It was a professional one, 3/4 inch U-matic, meant for television. So it had like a portable porta-pack where you with the VCR, portable VCR. It was like weighed 40, 50 pounds and had a big camera, laid like another 20, 30 pounds on your shoulder. And you kind of walking around like this for a while, shooting bands and going and doing my own thing, and then I put it on cable access. I was doing cable access, kind of like before YouTube. There was cable access where you could make your own show, and then you put it on cable. And they had a cable channel, and then and they had video equipment. And that's when I started doing that. Wow, you have video equipment. I can actually I don't have to borrow my mom's camera anymore. They use their camera. And I did that for a while in Phoenix, and then I was kind of syndicated myself, found other shows like me across the country. We traded tapes, and they put us on this channel where there was like infomercials, and I was the only music thing. So I had to figure if I was asking them, if I got other people like me, can you put them on right after me? Yeah, we'll do that, no problem. So that's why I started doing trading, doing like this networking thing, where like people like me had a show, like this guy in Albany, Real George's background in Albany, New York. He shot bands. Another guy's out of Lawrence, Kansas. A bomb shelter video out of Frank Harlan. I got to mention names. Out of Anchorage, Alaska, and came to Seattle and did his thing for a while. And we did that trading for a while. Then it like evolved. And then I got married, got kids, moved to Portland, Oregon. This is in the late 80s. And the music thing was really big there. We were going to go to Seattle, but I was like kind of drowned out. This whole sub pop grunge, thing and everything. And bands weren't, back then bands weren't going traveling up there and to Seattle, and they created their own scene, which is cool and everything. And then it really blew up, and it was cool to go there. And then I visited there. I want to live here, so that's end up living in Portland for 11 years. Did a whole bunch of things with bands, like interviewed Nirvana, interviewed Alice in Chains.
Judas Priest. Jerry Cantrell, play guitar.
Ricky Rocket, drums.
And you're in what band?
Alice in Chains.
Yeah. When I think of Alice in Chains, all I can think of is like Ralph Cranston just fucking put
Alice to the moon.
Putting the Hog Tour.
One way, Alice to the moon.
I can just like the top bands I'm just thinking of, like, and then all the Portland bands shot interviews, music videos, commercials, and did cable access there in Portland, Oregon. They had 5 cable access channels. They had 2 studios with cameras. They had a mobile production studio with 3 cameras. So I took that to a nightclub. First time they had it, brand new. I talked to the guy, let's go take it to the Satiricon. Mentioned the Satiricon in Portland, Oregon, ancient kind of like CBGBs of Portland. Anyway, so like I took it there, like a real grungy place, like these brand new, the really nervous, nerdy guys. Is it going to get broken? Oh, no problem, man. We're going to be fine. And so we shot bands, and anyway, so it's just like kind of give you the whole overview of what I did. So I've let's see, the awards. I've won some Billboard awards. I've got platinum records from doing interviews, selling records. I've done radio promotion. I've done concert promotion. I've had Nirvana do a show for me in Phoenix, Arizona at the Mason Jar in 1990, and 23 people showed up, and I had to give them gas money, and I could go on and on with rock and roll stories, but that's where
that's awesome. That's great. So you've been in the music industry for quite a while.
40 years almost.
Wow, that's amazing. And and right now what you're doing with your podcast, you're talking to a lot of experiencers, contactees, UFOs, aliens, paranormal, things of this nature, right?
With Giant Rock Podcast, and and that's, I don't know, people aren't familiar with that too much. Maybe they've seen it on Ancient Aliens. They did a couple episodes on Giant Rock, and also the Integratron, which is considered a time machine, rejuvenation machine. We can get into that later, but anyways, I do that. I've been doing Giant Rock Podcast for a little more than 2 years now, and put out like 1 or 2 episodes a month. And it's more of a sound design with the where it's more of radio theater, almost like it's where I call it where Art Bell meets Howard Stern. And that's where I kind of play it off, kind of joking, and we have a lot of spirituality too mixed into it.
It's very relaxed. I've been on it. It's very relaxed. It's just you're talking to an old friend. It's nice.
I'm not used to being interviewed too. I'm the guy interviewing people, and that's how. So, and then being on camera, I'm usually the guy behind the camera. So like, I'm kind of like, don't look at the camera. Okay, I won't look at the camera. I'll look at the camera. Anyways, but anyway,
it's different. You're in a different.
Yeah, I know.
Now. So, I want everyone out there to know this. About 2 years ago, Jeff told me something that happened to him when he was young. And it was a very strange experience, something he hasn't shared. And Jeff is very well aware of the extraterrestrial phenomena, UFOs, and all of these things. But this one experience that he talked about that happened to him when he was pretty young, it really stuck with me. And I had so many questions about it. And throughout, the past 2 years, little bits at a time, been going through it. Every time I talk to him, I brought it up every single time. I've never just let it go. It's just one of those things where, it really perplexed me, and it really grabbed my attention. So Jeff, if you're ready for it, can you please share one of your probably first big strange experiences you had?
Okay, I'll go with the first one. I never told this to anybody really. Just you, and I kind of talked about it on the podcast just a little bit, and it's out there with the podcast Giant Rock. I was like living in, like I was telling you, I was living in Yucca Valley's Joshua Tree area. And this is I'm 5 years old. I've lived there, was living there from 63 to 66, basically. In 1965, I'm 5 years old, and it was the summertime. And in Yucca Valley during that time, it's like I was telling you guys earlier before we came on. It's like that the land rush of the 40s, like people got land, and they were given land, and they were supposed to make something of the 5 acres and the 40 by 40 house lot they were allowed to build, and a lot of them abandoned the houses. And there's a lot of that abandoned houses all around there, and that was my playground. And I want to get into detail a little bit because I'm remembering things as they come. Before I came on, I started thinking about and remember more things about what happened, and I'm going to share that. And I played inside these abandoned houses, like throwing rocks through the windows, and it was me and my dog. My dog was with me. I was a German Shepherd, half wolf. Okay, it was me and my dog, boy and his dog. Okay, and yeah, and I didn't know how to talk. I learned how to read lips. I did sign language, and I'm dyslexic. I have learning disabilities, dyslexia. They didn't know what it was in 1965. They think you're mentally challenged and this and that and the other. You know what I mean? Anyways, so I like I said, the backyard I'm in playing. And it's sunset. I remember, this is the part I start remembering. It was sunset coming down. Sunset. I'm going, playing, and I kept going out further. And I know my way around. I've been playing in the area for years, 3 or 4 years. And just give you an idea that there's it's Mojave Desert. In the Mojave Desert at night gets really cold. It's 20 degrees cooler in the Mojave Desert than it is Palm Springs, which is 30, 40 miles south. It's it's up in the mountain range, this area, okay? It's still the desert. And it was getting dark, and I was with my dog, and I just all I remember is this light coming out, and it was the sunset, orange and white light, and that's all I remember. And then next thing I remember is I'm laying near the city, way far away from where I live, way far away. I didn't even know where I was at, and the dog's trying to wake me up. I'm laying in the ground. I know I'm like in a fetal position. I'm thinking. I'm trying to remember. I'm just trying to keep warm. It's cold, and I see lights in the city lights, and then the dog's pushing me go this way, and I get to an area, to the main highway, the 29 Palms Highway. And there's a man there. I think he recognized because they're looking for me. You know what I mean? And I get in the truck with my dog. He gets me in, and I'm going, and I go to my house. And then there's all these not ambulances, fire trucks, cops, everything, all these people, all these people.
Wow.
And I got handed through I was handed through the window. I didn't even get out of the car. I was handed through the window to my mom and dad. My dad got me, like not even, they were looking around for me, and
Cool.
that's all I remember.
And how long were you gone? Was this a couple hours?
No, it was 3 days, 2
Oh
nights.
my goodness. 3 days, 5
2
years
nights.
old,
Yeah.
as a kid with his dog, Mojave Desert. Wow. And when you said when you woke up, your dog was still there, presumably that your dog was with you, it seemed, throughout the time, but do you just recall that sunset and then boom, it's 3 days later?
I didn't
Missing
even know I
time?
was gone that long.
Whoa. Whoa. So sorry.
Don't
That must have
remember.
been a lot. And you said you had a speaking disability.
I didn't know how to talk.
So you couldn't even express what you just went through. Wow. Whew. So moving forward, and Josh, do you have any questions pertaining to that? Because I have a few, or observations.
Do you remember anything else? Any sensations or anything when you saw the light?
It's just dark.
Just dark.
Just dark. Like light switch went off.
Yeah.
Gone. Wow. Now, in this area, you said you woke up miles away, closer to a city. You went to this highway, this truck picked you up. You went home. Now, within this area, is there any military bases or anything like that?
Yeah, I should mention all that. There's the 29 Palms Marine Base. That's the testing ground. That's near Giant Rock. And that's 29 Palms, which is east of Yucca Valley, east of Joshua Tree, and part of Joshua Tree National Park is part of 29 Palms too. And
Wow.
and also I need to mention that the 29 Palms Marines were doing a line search for me. I found out when later on when I'm older.
Oh,
The Marines were looking for me.
So Marines, police officer, firefighters. And the thing is, these abandoned houses that you would play in, how far were they from a road?
They're they were like near my house where I live. There was like 3 or 4 right there. They're all over the place.
So for you to end up wherever you ended up, it was so far out of the way. There would have been no reason for you to go there.
No, because I know where I didn't even know where I was at. I played in the same area all the time. You know what I mean? I didn't like wander off hardly at all because like there's like mines there too. You could fall in a mine. They probably thought I fell in a mine,
Oh, wow.
because there's like abandoned mines everywhere. So that could have happened. But see that,
boy.
but I knew the spots, I mean, playing, even when you're a kid, and you have your dog, and the dog knows more of the area than I did, like he guided me more or less. Right. So like, I knew the area real well, and there were so many houses, abandoned houses outside, more abandoned houses than houses being lived in at that point there.
Yeah. And a few interesting little points I want to point out, about your dog. Last week we talked to our guests, he talked about his dog being calm, docile during his experience. We had Jim Cork, whose dog had that experience in Hawaii, and it's weird sometimes in these interactions and experiences, strange happenings, that animals are often involved, and somehow, what happened to your dog during that time. I mean, we don't know, but it's very, very interesting. And this military base being there. And then Josh, his eyes lit up with mine when you were talking about these old mines. You know, we had Judy's story about the UP and the mines and a lot of the activity, and not just UFO activity, but underground military facilities, things like that. And you're bringing up this Marine base where they do, uh, experiments, target practice, other things of that nature, right?
Yeah, there's a other experience that I had there when I was a kid, and then it was during Sunday school. I told you about this, and it was like that's what kind of drew me to Giant Rock, like something I knew. And this is a premonition that happened. Felt like a memory coming back of this happening. This is one of the memories came back 7 years ago that I had of Sunday school. And we were going out there, and I scraped my side. I'm running. And I hit a side of the building that had brick, and I scraped my side because everybody, hey, look out there, and everybody was pointing. All the kids were pointing at a UFO north of towards Giant Rock area, around what Pioneer Town, which is north of Yucca Valley in the mountain range. And everybody saw that. We all looked at it, and it was like kind of like no big deal for everybody. Kind of like for a little bit, like, oh, okay. And then we all went on to play.
Wow. And that school is in the same town where you went
to Yucca
missing.
Valley. This is around the same time. This is a memory that came back 7 years ago.
And the whole class saw it. Wow.
Yeah, everybody saw it.
Anyone out there, if you know anyone that went to school that year at that school and they saw this, please
this is a
comment
church
it and
too.
reach out.
This is church, so it's a Sunday school. I don't know exactly the location. I've been trying to find it too.
Mm-hmm.
And it's good. It's north, a little bit north of Yucca Valley, just a little bit. It's near this Boulder area. That's what I remember. And
Wow.
so yeah, if anybody remembers, please. I'm still doing research on it. I'm trying to find articles. If anybody has articles on what happened to me, that'd be great. If anybody can come out and tell me where I can find that, that'd be great. I'm still looking.
Absolutely. And one side note I want to pull up, and I'm so sorry this happened to you, Jeff. It's really something to really ponder about. Was this extraterrestrials? Could this have been some private military experiment? Could it be something else entirely? We don't know, trying to figure it out. But, there's a military base there. You got old mines, you got UFO, you got a lot of different activity going there. But, hearing your story, and most of people out there are familiar with the series, The Missing 411, people that just vanish and disappear in very mysterious ways. And Jeff, it sounds like, you could have easily became a part of that statistic, but you were one of the ones that was able to come back, and it's very strange because, like you said, it gets really cold out in that desert. You didn't have no food or water for 3 days. You're
Nothing.
in a desert.
I was just
You're in a desert.
Nothing. Yeah.
Where are you going to get water from? How did you survive that? You watch survival shows, right? Survival shows where it's professionally military trained men that go out and they're like, this is what you need to do to survive for 3 days with no food or water. And here you are, a 5-year-old kid, not dressed. I'm sure you weren't dressed appropriately for a 3-day excursion.
Especially at night. Nothing for the night.
Exactly. Like, how did you survive that? What is your take on that? What do you make out of it?
Always, like, I knew something always happened because, like, after that happened, we moved out of Yucca Valley. My mom,
Really?
Of course, me being missing, she didn't want that to happen to me again. I'm pretty sure, you know what I mean, being gone that long. And so we moved to Moorhead, Fargo, Fargo, North Dakota, Moorhead, Minnesota. And they had a business opportunity they took it. My dad had an established restaurant called The Hut. And it was like, now it's called the Jelly Donut, but it's called the Hut. And it was a bar restaurant. My dad ran it for 3 or 4 years. And I don't know why. And then he liked it there. he had arthritis. He didn't want to move. I know that, but my mom wanted to move to that area, and then this is right after this is happening, and to get out of there. So like, even like experiences when I was living there were like, wow. I felt like there was angelics coming to visit me, and I felt like
some sort of higher
very
entity.
very bright, feminine touching, feminine. It was like, and I seen it when I was a little kid, and then like I felt like it was like almost like the Holy Spirit, and I'm not very religious at all, and so I had that feeling, of like, like that.
It was a comfort, a reassurance.
Yeah, it was very comfort. There was no fear to it. And even with the experience I had, when I think about it, like later on when after, it was like no fear. There was no fear involved. Nothing. It was nothing to hurt. No, it was not to here to hurt me. And I kept that after when I like lived in Minnesota, having those angelic experiences. Like I was living there from 66 to 70. And 10 years old, we moved to Scottsdale, Phoenix, Arizona. And then that's where I started seeing more. When I was going to high school, I'd see we lived right near the Pima Reservation, Scottsdale, Arizona, Pima Road. And the McDonald's, it's like this park right there. And we used to hang out in the park and smoke weed and shit. Excuse my language. But like we used to do that and then like watch things going out in the reservation, because there was nothing there. There was nothing built on the Pima Reservation, nothing. It was just nothing but barren land, city, and then the reservation, and it was cut off. And then we see things out there all the time, and then, like I just thought I read UFO books when I was a kid. When I started reading, that was the first books I started reading, everything I could on it. And we've seen them all the time. And then and this is in Phoenix, and especially around the reservation there, around the Pima Reservation. And this is like during the daytime mostly, not nighttime. These are daytime sightings I'm talking about and everything. So like they're far out there, you can see, but there's no air traffic out there because the airport's on the other side of town at that point. And again, like we kind of like as kids, we kind of made it a little bit big deal seeing these things a little bit, but not really. It was not every day. It's like once in a while we see them. You know what I mean? It's like when like maybe twice a year, maybe. You know what I mean? But it was like that seemed more consistent. What was going on and what I thought at that point when I think about it, looking back. And anyways.
That's interesting. I mean, Josh knows, a lot of native connection to extraterrestrial, great spirits, other energies, things like that. I've heard a lot of stories about reservations almost being safe havens for some of these craft to interact because they have certain laws and military isn't allowed to go over them and things like that. And, it's kind of a safe haven. That's very interesting.
And when something happened, excuse me to interrupt you, but when in the 90s, like with the Phoenix lights, then that kind of like, wow, it's getting press, because a lot of us seen it a lot as kids, like especially around the reservation, like you were talking about, like it's always happening out east of the city and everything. And then like when the Phoenix light happened, that was west of the city and everything, which is interesting, which is the mountain range out there is interesting, which is near a nuclear plant, which doesn't come too much of a surprise that happening around there.
Yeah, definitely big nuclear connection as well. And Josh, do you have any questions pertaining to
what's your first experience? How did your parents rationalize what happened to you in them 3 days? Like, what did your mom and dad think happened? Or the police or the Marines for that to say how did
like it was like I didn't really talk to my mom about it. Like, so I couldn't talk, You know what I mean? And it was like, all I remember is like, we moved out of there. Like she wanted to get out of there. Cause like I'm a special needs kid. The way she looked at it, she was very, coddling, very,
Mom, you know.
very
good mother.
motherly, way overbearing sometimes. You know what I mean? And she worried a lot. So she, you know, so that's, and then my dad was more real stern. You know what I mean? So like from what I gather, is like he wanted to stay there and she wanted to go because of what happened. Because she didn't want me to fall in a mine. She always said, you could have fell in a mine, you know. And so that's later on, you know.
And your dad was the guy like Mighty Pythons. It's just a flesh wound, you know.
Yeah.
More like that, where your mother was, you know, I'm afraid next time we're not going to get him back.
Exactly.
Something scared her to the point to get up out of there.
Well, there's no way to control where I went. There's no fence, okay, in the backyard. There's no neighbor, really, okay? We had, like, sporadical houses around. If you knew the area, look at the area. It's still like that now, except for Yucca Valley is built up now. But, like it's, like, more like what Yucca Valley used to be is what 29 Palms is like now. It's more like that. Where 29 Palms back then was nothing. And nothing around there. I mean, there's one highway in to, you know, the 29 Palms highway in from the Interstate 10. You know, if you wanted to get out, it's 40-minute drive just to get to the main freeway. Just to give you an idea.
So okay. You were out there.
We're way out there. And my dad was there for his arthritis. He had arthritis, and it was good. That son, why would he always complained living in Minnesota. I'm aching. That's why we moved back to Phoenix. We moved to Phoenix because he wanted to get for his arthritis, for the heat.
Yeah.
And it's just like I never understood until later. Like, why do we, you know, like ask my mom when, you know, later on, like, why do we move there? You know, because I didn't want you to fall in a mine, you know, a mine shaft. So like the duration, I never really questioned the duration that much. You know what I mean?
Because to you, it was just like that.
Yeah. And plus, like, couldn't communicate to her. You know what happened? I mean? Yeah, what happened?
Hey, I don't remember everything in between that time.
And it's very little what I remember till like these little pieces are coming back still. You know what I mean? When I like think into it hard, really think about it. You know, it's like tiny little pieces coming in.
Yeah, you got to meditate.
Have you ever considered regression therapy?
Been thinking about that. I live in Los Angeles, by the way.
Okay.
And there's a lot of people that there's one guy that George Norrie's seen that did a regression. I want to talk to him maybe. And he's really good. He's in town here. He's just like 3 miles from where I live. So I'm thinking on hitting him up, you know, because I want to know what happened. Because, like, look, I'm really looking into it. I can't find any articles on it in the local paper. Why? I have no clue. I can't get the exact time. I know the year. That I just found that through getting my report card after my mom died in 2018. Okay.
Yeah.
So I just found that out. Like, and that 2018. I just found out what year. You know. So now I have to go back and search, and then it's just like, and then COVID happening and everything shut down. It's like I've been going out there. I just went out there like last month and everything, doing recording and everything, and everything was still shut down and everything. And I want to get into the microfiche, you know, where with the articles, see if I can find anything. And within that year, there's got to be something.
A boy goes missing for 3 days.
Yeah, it's got to be front page news. You
know it. And I'm sure after everything opens up again, you will be able to go through and, you know, they have to have that catalog somewhere for sure. Wow.
Because, you know, you have to go, like, I didn't know what exact year because I was living there for like about 5 years. And then, you know, you have to have the exact year to find it. You know what I mean? Then you get to look through it. Right. Anyways, so that's where I'm at with that. And I went to the Morongo Valley Historical Society and everything, and that's how I found out where my dad's restaurant was and what the name was. I have old ads from my dad that I got, and I told them what was going on. They're right by Giant Rock. And they have a whole bunch of things on Giant Rock, the space conferences of Van Tassel, things like that, and everything. And they heard of my dad, and my dad was vice president of the Elks Club. I just don't see him want to pick up and leave all that. That's just like still blows my mind. My dad, like, no way, I'm not going to do that. Like,
Yeah.
you got it. Let's get out of here. He might fall in a mine again. So anyways, that's how she was.
She wanted to protect her son. I understand that, and something to piggyback, Jeff, something I haven't really shared. When I was around 3 years old, around there, I think I was actually 3 years old, even younger, but sometime I got out of my house, walked like 2-3 miles down the road. I don't remember any of this whatsoever. Completely blank, couldn't remember it if I tried. This is just what my family always told me growing up. And they said it was nighttime, and I'm tall now, but I wasn't that tall. I wouldn't have been able to reach the doors. All the doors were locked. There was no explanation. They were freaking out, looking all over for a good hour and a half. And, I was maybe 4 or 5 miles down the street. Just, I don't know anything. So I understand that complete block of knowing absolutely nothing about it. And I only know that from my mother and grandmother always telling me the story. Remember that time you scared us half to death? One of those things, but it was very strange. And my mom had a very similar experience as well. But man, that must have been, I can't imagine, Jeff, you going through this and not being able to, like, there's a lot of people that say, well, I'm afraid to be ridiculed. I'm afraid of rejection, so I don't speak about my experiences, but you couldn't speak about it. And Jeff, that brings me to this next point. Do you think there was any connection, to your disabilities and maybe of what was going on and maybe why this happened to you to begin with?
Yeah, after talking, when I doing my research in Yucca Valley in 2017, and that's where I found about the giant rock and everything, and about Integratron, and I found his nephew that was still alive, Chad C. Meek. And Chad has done I've been on podcasts talking about his experiences, and then when I hit him up on Facebook, we started talking, and then he was telling me he has dyslexia too and disabilities, and he had ended up going to Giant Rock and then missing in time too, missing, disappearing, everybody looking for him. And we talked about, he said there was a group of people during that time, kids and other people with disabilities that were disappearing and coming back. He told me that. So I just,
Whoa.
There's then that's when I start doing the research on Giant Rock, everything, when I remembered in 2017 what happened, and I'll tell you exact what it was. Veterans Day, I'm a veteran, Army veteran. And, coming out, it was we came out of Applebee's out of Yucca Valley, Jennifer and I and my wife, and God, something happened to me. And that's where I remember the church, the event, and that it happened over here, and then it was Veterans Day free meal. And so with something going on up here, with something north of here, and I didn't even know anything about Giant Rock or Integratron. And I went home, when I got home in Los Angeles, I looked on my computer and what on Google Maps, what's going on here? And that's where I found the Integratron. And I went, what is that? And then then this is the big rabbit hole. Wow, UFO.
Yeah.
That's where I found Chad, through those channels and everything. And then that's where the pieces start coming together a little more. Something really happened to me, where these 3 days, like, and then all these UFOs, like my wife and I we see it, one time we saw it coming from Los Angeles back to Phoenix, going out courtside over Arizona on the I-10, just before you go to the Kingman Highway exit. I know exactly where it happened, and we thought it was a helicopter coming right in front of the highway, the freeway, and it wasn't. It was a freaking UFO.
Wow.
Coming right in, and it flew so quick, and everybody stopped. And like right in front of us, like it was like, he's in the car. What's his name? Richard Dreyfuss, and then he thinks it's a truck, and he keeps waving it. It was like that. It felt like that for a minute. Like the lights were like that coming right at us. Like, oh no, it's coming that, and it just like
turn down your high beams.
You know what I mean?
Flashing a UFO.
Oh my god! And so like I've had like that close experience. I had like at Giant Rock. I want to get into this. Like once I started going there, like Giant Rock, like we were really looking for it, nothing, going there, nothing. And suddenly we went there once, and then there was this big shadow. It's clear as a bell outside. Not one cloud in the sky, a shadow over us. There's a dirt road from the Integratron to Giant Rock. It's 1.5 miles. A lot of all-terrain vehicles go on it and everything, and there's people flying around on it. People go to Giant Rock because of the space conference and go there and check out Giant Rock. And I wanted to do that too. Usually you go to the Integratron first, then you check that out, then you go to Giant Rock. Anyways, you're going there, there's this big shadow, and it's like, what? And I got out of the car, and there's nothing there. It's like a cloak UFO, I think. Swear to God. And it just watched the shadow going towards Go Mountain, just going slowly across.
What was the shape of the shadow?
It was oval, long, 2 or 3 football fields long, about 60, 70 yards wide.
That's awesome.
At least. And you know what I mean? So that was wow. We both got out of the car. I wish I had my camera on my phone right then. Damn it. Anyways, and then so that's where and I've had missing time going to Giant Rock. And there's other people that when I've had on my podcast talk about missing time at Giant Rock, and then some of the experiences that people had at Giant Rock have not been good. It's been really horrible for them. Our main fear. I just one time I went there, it was no one there. It's the middle of the summer and no one wants to go there when it's 110. I just go there for the connection.
Yeah.
And everything. And walked around.
I just want to say something. So you said you've talked to other people as well that have experienced some sort of missing time within this area. So it's not just you. It's apparently happened to a lot of different people, right?
It's been ongoing there for a long time from when I found out. This is through doing the podcasts and talking to people. You know what I mean? Just similar to what you guys are doing.
Yeah.
And it's just some of the stories, and then the connection with the Integratron, and then with Giant Rock, it's a sacred spot. Barbara Harris, I had her on. She's a historian on Giant Rock, and it was a sacred area for only shaman were allowed near it. And then they went there for, I think, a winter solstice. Tribes from the Southwest would go there, and only the shaman were allowed there. And it was a big, a spiritual party. For the solstice. And it's just then they have on Giant Rock, there's a hieroglyphic of a scorpion on there that hasn't been destroyed by graffiti. Not very, you have to get up there real high, but you can see it still. But the stories behind Giant Rock, I don't know if I want to get into that too much, but that's more of the professional. Barbara Harris could tell the story better than I can when it comes to the history of that. But anyways.
So this whole area, sounds highly active. Is this an energy grid? Is it on a ley line? What?
Yeah, it's according to Van Tassel. If I don't know if you read you read the 7 Councils of Light, and he kind of talks about that a little bit. Where the Integratron sits, it's on the geomatic highway where there 3 or 4 geomatic highways meet at once right there, and part of it's part of with the 33rd parallel. It runs off that, And that's where Giant Rock is in between that and that. And he specifically bought that land there. And
there's a few other monuments that fall on that parallel as well.
yeah, well, Joshua Tree too. That's considered a vortex too, I guess.
Wow.
I mean, but if when I'm thinking about it, like what I know is like from my research myself, just on the Integratron itself, like it's like Van Tassel was building what he wanted to build, a rejuvenation machine where he'd make people younger. You walk through, you get rejuvenated, you become younger, where you can live longer. And he was given this information from doing a channeling with men from Venus that were watching him, and his name was Uganda, and he came down in a UFO. They came down in a ship, and he was his son-in-law woke him up and said, there's look out here. And he came out there and he went into the ship, and they told him this information. And this whole story is on YouTube. You could find this on George Van Tassel. You can just Google up George Van Tassel, and the interview is right there. And he talks about how he went in there and they gave him this information to build the Integratron, and they kept coming back. They came back in Cadillacs, he said. They came back, like Men in Black, and giving them this information. They look like us. He kept saying they all look like us. He said when they look like they're in their 40s, and they look like this real tan guy, and real like a blonde, like he was describing a blonde. Mm-hmm. And they were, and they came back and given them more information to build the Integratron, because once you get old enough, you gain this wisdom. And once you gain wisdom, then, you could help the planet. You could help everybody. So like, we're not living long enough. And then the people that he talked to are 700 or 800 years old, and they didn't look a day over 35.
That's amazing.
That's what he was building. And then it was also built off the Rife technology, off Tesla technology. And the whole building doesn't have any metal pieces to it. It's all built out of wood and glue. And the wood is made from the same wood that was made from the spruce goose that Howard Hughes had. Howard Hughes used to fly in to Giant Rock and give bags of money to George Van Tassel to build the Integratron.
Wow. I did, everyone check it out in my other videos here on the channel. It was called The Wall of Secrecy, a peek at the truth of extraterrestrials. Specifically talked a lot about Howard Hughes and his flying boat, and some of the things he was doing in secret space programs and designing. That's very, very interesting. And it sounds like what he was doing with this Integratron was harnessing the Earth's energy and almost like a frequency healing, and actually made this, because it's a dome-like structure, right? It's a domed.
It's dome. It's more like a tabernacle. That's what Van Tassel has, 17 sides to it. And then there's 2 levels to it. The upper level is where the energy can come. It was supposed to build up energy through wires and everything. And when we talked about, I talked about Eric Dollard, and then I gave you stuff about him, and Eric Dollard used to work with Van Tassel building this. And then anyways, Eric Dollard said that the Integratron really is a Stargate.
That's awesome. And it has some, I think in what I read, it was mentioning that it was modeled off of Moses's tabernacle.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? So now, what does that tell you about what they were doing back then, and this holy site? What was actually going on in there? Were humans being genetically modified and upgraded using 528 hertz, which is the heart chakra, repair DNA, and what? That's wild.
And this is like 1950s. I mean, Van Tassel spent his whole life building the Integratron.
Wait, what? So great question. Was the Integratron there when you went missing?
Yes.
So all this wild stuff was already going on during
Space conferences. He had a intergalactical space conference every year in May from 1954 to 1976.
Wow.
Give you how long was doing it at Giant Rock. And then one year they had up to 30,000 people there.
Wow.
And there's pictures of that. Life magazine covered it one year. And
Wow.
there's articles that you could Google up on that. And you can all that's there on the Giant Rock podcast gallery, by the way. And you don't have to Google up, just go to Giant Rock Gallery.
Yep.
And no, really, but it's like he was like doing that for years. And then he after Howard Hughes died, you know, he was like really strapped for cash and he was struggling to finish it. And then he was being on the Long John Noble show, which was before Art Bell in WR in New York. He was the one with Amdinsky on there all the time, and the FBI was following him all the time. And there's an FBI report. Calling All Earthlings is a documentary out on Amazon that you can watch for free that explains the whole story of Van Tassel, and it gets in depth about Long John Noble, showing how he went there and then the feds were on him. And then, so Van Tassel had not only the FBI on him, you know, and everything. He was struggling for cash. So he created the quarterly magazine, The Proceedings. He focused on that, trying to get people to donate money to help finish it. And then he had a lot of scientists working on it, including Eric Dollard. And because he worked with Lockheed, you know, with Howard Hughes, he was a test pilot for Howard Hughes, by the way, Van Tassel. So he had all these connections with Lockheed and everything, big
and
people.
Howard Hughes had his aerospace company, whatever, aviation in Malibu, California as well.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Wow.
that's something I learned in, you know, doing my research, but he had his own thing, and that was out in Malibu. And
I wonder if Van Tassel worked with him on that, because he was a test pilot for him. You know what I mean?
Probably. And also Howard Hughes and Adamski, also buddies. It's this big inner circle of characters.
Yeah, well, Adamski, you know, and Van Tassel were real close friends.
It's
so there
the
you go.
Same group of people, and Adamski had the FBI following him and everyone else, and it's very interesting. A lot of activity all in this one little area that just so happens you went missing. Do you think there's some sort of connection to the military base, to them, you know, inviting and channeling all sorts of extraterrestrials?
Has to be, because whenever I meditate, you know, whenever I concentrate, like even remembering, you know, like I clear the mind and just relax and, you know, clear the mind and try to like dig deep back into that memory. And that's where I remembered like the sunset, that light coming, you know, and that's just a recent memory just now. And it's hard to talk about a little bit because it was very emotional.
And there's so much unknown of that experience. Yeah. And, you know, sometimes you feel a little violated. Like, for example, all right, yeah, I was missing, but not knowing it, I kind of feel violated. What happened during that time? Why don't I know about it? You know, it's weird.
When you know, read about it, other people's experiences, and it's like some of it's good, some of it's bad. So, and then you don't know. And then, like you were saying, I wasn't able to communicate. I wish I could, you know. It's like later on I had the questions, but that's like a decade and a half later I was able to ask. It was too late. Yeah, way too late. Decade.
Late. And when did you finally start speaking?
Till I was about 7 or 8.
Wow.
You know, and yeah, come a long ways. 62.
Oh yeah, so the Integratron, everyone check that out. Van Tassel, really amazing stuff. Jeff has been educating me on Giant Rock and all of this stuff. But moving forward, so, and Josh, did you have anything on that before I?
Yeah. Do you want to share some of your more recent experiences with us?
Thank you for asking that. Yes, I do. Yeah, like shoot, 2 years ago? It's going on 2.5 years ago. When I started doing the Giant Rock podcast in my backyard porch here, and I was doing CE5 meditation on my own with the crop circle tones using a little Bluetooth speaker, and I had the green laser, and like I'm just pointing at the laser at like stars, and this one, it came from a star, and it came down. I live in Los Angeles, Culver City. Okay, and this is a big city. There's a lot of air traffic, I know, and everything, but it came down into the backyard, and I'm someone else's backyard. I have a porch that looks upon the backyard, and then it came down, and I just felt this energy of, it's gonna sound crazy, but All You Need Is Love by the Beatles were playing in my head when they came down. And I started singing that in my head with them, and then I started dancing with them. And I have it on tape. I videotaped it on my camera and everything. I have it on tape, and then it's dancing, and I'm moving the laser up and down, and it's dancing with the laser like a bouncing ball on a song, and everything is awesome, man. And I loved it. It loved me, and I love. It was awesome, man. And oh wow. And then I just couldn't believe I had to call. It was happening for hours. I got everybody up from the house. Like I got laying up, Lane, look, my son, look at this. Like it's 3:00. And I'm like, look, it's still there, man. Look.
Still,
like,
how
so
long
what,
was
Dad?
it there?
And I got Jennifer up and showed my wife Jennifer, like, wow, that's cool. Like, can I go to bed now? like it's no big deal for her. For me, it was I loved it. You know what I mean? So that was the first time in my backyard that happened.
How long was that object there for?
Jeez.
An hour?
No. 4 or 5 hours.
Wow. Oh my. And interacting with you each time.
Until the crack of dawn. It was summer.
What? That's wild. That's awesome.
And then the second time was a week and a half later. And I was doing the crop circle tones, and it came from another direction. It came from the west. The first one came from the northwest. This one came from the west, and then that's the Pacific Ocean. And geez, it seemed like it did the same thing. This time it came down flashing, and I gave you the footage on that, Robert. And you saw that it came down and it started flat, and that's where I had the Wise camera, the little $35 camera, like whatever you can put in your backyard, and it has infrared on it. And infrared, just to let everybody know, infrared, I know I'm a cinematographer also. And infrared is like where the human eye can't see certain colors and everything, full spectrum. There's colors that the human eye can't see. Infrared's certain things you cannot see, the human eye can't see, that infrared can. So in saying that, I knew that based on my knowledge. And so I knew, I had the cameras because I knew it. I saw it there, and I wanted to get it on the camera and not have to worry about trying to focus on holding the microphone on the walkie-talkie and a Bluetooth and my cell phone at the same time. That's why I got the camera. So I didn't have to hold 3 things at once, and I can concentrate on looking at it and getting and focusing on the meditation part. Anyways, so I was able to record it off my phone at that point with Woz on the app. And so I recorded that, and then I was playing the tones and using the laser too, and it was flashing the laser off and on, and it would flash right back. It was doing the flash back right back at me, and then it was coming down, and that lasted for 2 hours, a little less time than the time before. So then after that, then I bought a couple more surveillance cameras. I bought 2 more, and then I had 3 because I wanted to cover the whole area and everything. And so I didn't have to worry about like holding this, holding that. And I was able to concentrate on the meditation and the CE5, you know, holding the walkie-talkie with the Bluetooth and everything. And I'll get into how I changed that later in here in a second. And so then like I'm going in, and suddenly like boom, I felt this energy, like, and it's like I turn around and I looked on the camera app, and then these 4 orb things flew in towards the porch from the backyard, like came from the top of the sky, and I got it all on recording, and it came down, and then it like dent, and it flew off and it vanished. And that, like, wow, that really blew me away. And I sent that to everybody I knew, like you and everybody, Robert, and everybody I knew. Look at this, my God.
Yep.
And that
then, wasn't it.
Yeah, and then it started happening. Like I was talking to my godson, and he says like we do meditation. I had him on the podcast, and after the podcast, he was saying like, Jeff, that's gonna happen all the time now. Once they come, they don't stop coming. And I was going to myself, is that a good thing? Oh, so what? I'm used to them. And like they kept coming, and I kept recording, and I kept like, it is like the energy is just like overwhelming. Like every time I did the podcast, sometimes like I do a meditation before I do my podcast, and after I do it, then they would come too. And I could feel them coming. I could feel them. I could feel the bliss of love. Love, the pure, hard to explain.
And your intentions were pure and love. That's what you were feeling. That's what you were putting out. That's what you were receiving. And I've seen the videos, and it kept progressing, the interactions. And sometimes there would be 4, sometimes there would just be 2 of them.
Or there'd be 8. I've had
flying
8
in formation. You know, bugs don't fly in formation.
No.
So like with the crops, so I've been getting these, and I've been recording hundreds and hundreds of these, and I've been talking. I'd started looking around on the internet, see if other people been getting them on, and there's other people been getting them, and I recorded them, and I talked to these people too, and everything, and like one of them ended up on the news, like someone's bringing a drone down and spying on people, and this lady's really scared. Like, oh my God. They don't even know.
Yeah. And it's clearly not a drone. Yeah,
it's definitely not a drone.
Clearly
the way they fly.
not.
And then like I've had people, there's spider webs. I have hundreds of hours of spider webs. I'll give you footage of that. You want spider webs? They kind of look a little bit like that, but nothing. They don't fly off from the top of the sky all the way down and fly in circles and then join together and they become like one ball for a second. Then they go. And then I've sent you one where it's a big ball flying and these sparks, these things are flying off it. I've had one where it came from the ground of the backyard and splintered off into many pieces. I've had where it's plasmatic. I'm still trying to find that one. I have so much footage. It's plasmatic, it comes right into the camera. It's fried my cameras too. These things fried my camera. I go through like I have bought like 6 cameras since I've been doing this.
The Waze cameras?
They fry them. Yeah, they fry them. I think it's the high energy. So I figured out these high frequencies and everything, that the frequency of the crop circle tones is the beacon. And I know that from CE5. So I use the beacon is like, it could be anywhere. Granted, look, I'm in Los Angeles, in Culver City, with 23 million people, and they're coming right in my backyard. Explain that, okay? And I've been on the CE5 app and trying to get other people, hey, come in my backyard. Let's do this together. And after a while, like, no one shows up, like, hell with it. I'm going to do it myself. I could, and that's already that way anyway. So it doesn't matter, right? So like, anyways, So like I decided like, well, God, I can't hold the Bluetooth and the walkie-talkie together all the time. It's just that big hassle. So I got a little FM transmitter that puts out 10 watts. I bought it on eBay, and then I bought an antenna. I bought a dipole antenna. So I put it out in the backyard, and I have a recording studio basically right here, mixing board, everything. So I, downloaded into a nice WAV file the crop circle tones and everything, and mixed it myself, and made my own, and then everything. And
Awesome.
I broadcast it, and I have video footage of that I sent you, where the orbs are wrapping themselves around the antenna. They come down and start. They kind of like wrap themselves around the antenna, around the energy of that of the signal. And then what makes me thinking is, like, I've been in broadcasting for 40 years, and I'm just like, has anybody in broadcasting, and I know I'm live here, has anybody in broadcasting radio getting these experiences, like engineers that are working on transmitters, working on the tower, if they have a camera, they've seen orbs like this? I like to know. Because
Good question.
Because with, especially if it's under an infrared camera. And so anyways, that's where I'm at now with them and everything. It's like I have a better system where I can just run the crop circle tones without holding anything and focus on my meditation and the energy of almost like remote viewing. You know what I mean? I'm here. I'm looking at a map, and I'm in this location. This is where I'm at. I'm here. I'm in Culver City. This is where I'm at. And one more thing before I finish what I'm talking about. Before these things started, there was an earthquake literally next to where I live. And it ended up on, I have a screenshot of where, they ended up on the GES, the geological survey thing. And if people felt it, but it was like one of these rare fault lines that hit. And then suddenly that's when they started happening too, more after this earthquake. Just saying. I don't know if there's a connection, but
Oh yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
So that's to answer your question there in a long-winded way. There you go.
Seismic activity gives off gamma rays. Also, not far from where you live in LA, from the west, out in that water, there's a little base there. Also, you didn't mention this, but there's an old nuclear facility down from you, up along the beach as well. Right, Jeff?
Yeah, well, like Point Hume right there, what is it? Point Magoo in Santa Monica Mountains, right there by the naval base. Where is that? Oxnard, which is like near Malibu, the Highway 1. And there's like this, they call it the sand dune. I've done CE5 there, called on the sand dune. It's a big sand dune that goes all the way up to the mountain. It's the wind and everything. It's not by water, it's by wind. And there's a submergible base supposedly that's right there. If you looked on Google, and people covered this and everything. And I've done crop circle tones where I had dolphins come up over there and everything, and birds come in flying in. Hey, what's going on? And it's like the animals are connected to it, to the crop circle tones, just to let you know. And and I've used them around hummingbirds too. They're connected too. So part of me says these orbs are connected to the hummingbirds and the birds, because we get a lot of bird activity in my porch now. A lot. I get scrubs, everything, songbirds, everything. My wife puts bird food up, but we get a tremendous amount more than we're used to. Just saying. That's
great. It's good for nature. They love the tones. Any questions, Josh? Before
No, it was awesome, Jeff.
Yeah. Wow, that's amazing, Jeff. All these incredible experiences. Without a doubt, California has a lot of strange stuff going on. And I truly cannot imagine what it must have been like to go through that missing time experience. And I'm so glad that you are one of the fortunate ones that was found, because there's 400,000 people that go missing constantly and they're never found in very mysterious circumstances. I'm glad you're not a part of that statistic. With that being said, Jeff, what is the best way for people to get a hold of you, to contact you, and see what you're doing?
Okay, here we go. Giant Rock Podcast. That's giantrockpodcast.com. You can find me right there. Also on Facebook, Giant Rock Podcast on Facebook, Twitter, and all these other fun spots on social media. Also, Giant Rock Podcast at gmail.com. Also, I do a show called I used to do a TV show called Bohemia After Dark. It was a music show I've been doing for almost 44 years now. Anyways, a little bit more 40. Anyhow, I do a podcast now. It used to be a TV show in the 90s with grunge rock and hip hop and all that fun stuff. And I do a podcast called Bohemia After Dark Podcast. It's on Podbean and several other streaming platforms, but you can find me there. Yeah, that's where I'm at.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's been a blast, and everyone out there, if you want to get a hold of Josh or I, go into the description. Along there, you will find Jeff's information. Josh is running our podcast on Spotify and Anchor, so make sure to check that out. Thanks, Josh, for doing all that work for me. Also,
thank you.
Josh.
Thank you.
Josh, you're doing something on Facebook for the group, right?
Yeah, be sure to check out our Facebook group, We Are the Disclosure. So
yep, that's in the description. Yeah, go say hi. I'm deleted from Facebook, can't make a new account. But Josh is on there holding down the fort. So go show him some love.
Zuckerberg socks.
Yeah.
I don't want to get into my Facebook experiences.
Oh, yeah. Go through it. So I appreciate everyone. I'll see you next week. Everyone have a wonderful night. Thanks again, Jeff, Josh.
Thank you, guys.
Amazing show.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much. Peace.
God,
Thank you so much for watching. Please make sure to set a reminder for up-and-coming videos. If you have had an experience, please email us at orderoflight777@gmail.com or wearethedisclosure88@gmail.com. If you would like to contact our special guests, information can be found in the description. Make sure to check out the We Are the Disclosure podcast radio on Anchor FM. For additional information, socials, and online store, go to the Direct Me link in the description. Whistleblowers, experiencers, and contactees of all backgrounds, now is the time to come forward. Please subscribe, share, and give the video a big thumbs up. We are not waiting for the disclosure. We are the disclosure. See you next time.